What's good, y'all? It's me, Chris. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing me. But before we get into that, if you like, y'all can go ahead and follow me on my other social media platforms. Here is my Twitter, where I'll just be talking hella shit. And here is my Instagram, where you're going to be getting mounds of melanin. You're very welcome. And while you're here, you can check out some of my recent videos. About a week ago, I talked about biphobia that cis straight women yield and hold on to for dear life. Before that, I talked about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot and reboots in general. And before that, I talked about Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion WAP video and song. So go ahead and check those out. In today's video, I want to have a conversation specifically about coming out and queerness. I'm sure a lot of y'all that consume YouTube know that for a lot of gay YouTubers, a coming out video is pretty much an expectation at this point. You look into the pantry of any gay YouTuber and you'll see sitting right next to the first hookup stories is a coming out video. Like, it's a staple in any queer YouTuber's content. It makes sense. I completely understand the appeal of coming out videos. It showcases a time of bravery. It reveals a time of vulnerability. It tells a time of non-conformity as to when one person has decided to fully embrace and accept their sexuality. I get it. It's like a slight glimpse into your favorite YouTuber, your favorite queer YouTuber, and how they've come to be. Understandable. However, I don't really feel like coming out videos really say much about a person's queerness. Like, the video focuses a lot on the other person's response to the coming out. The focus is constantly on the acceptance of the other person and not about one's queer self. Coming out videos to me are framed as like this be-all moment, like this light switch moment, as if homophobia has been dismantled and you can completely live this liberating free life. And I'm not saying that you don't get that from coming out videos, and I'm not saying that like you won't have lots of light switch moments where you flick a switch and all of a sudden you have like this clarity in understanding your queerness, but I really don't think that that's like the totality of queerness. I don't really think that that's one person's journey and understanding their queerness. Like, there's going to be so many moments of unlearning and in learning how you exist as a queer person in this society. So instead of doing a coming out video, I wanted to do a video that encompasses my experiences as a gay man and gives you a bit more insight and depth into who I am. This has been a constant thought of mine of how I wanted to share my experiences here on YouTube, and then I came across this tweet by the user of the name of George M. Johnson. They are a queer person that I follow on Twitter. They are a writer and published author. They just released their first book titled All Boys Aren't Blue, and it's a memoir sharing their experiences being black and queer growing up in America. And in this tweet it reads, "I'm not innately an introvert. I became one out of safety as an effeminate child. I processed safety over identity/performance at age 7. Today I realized that never left me and is why I've never been my full self. Writing has me processing. Lately, I've been discussing this quote-unquote micro-abolition, abolishing of things in my daily life that stop me from being me. I see abolition as macro and micro, connected, intersected, necessary. An ideology as macro as abolishing prisons, but micro as not policing my clothing or mannerisms." Thank you, George, so much for this tweet. As I read this tweet, this is where I realized where I wanted to start. I wanted to start when I realized gay wasn't okay. When I realized that who I existed as was going to be met with so much violence and shame. When I realized that I had to shrink myself to stay safe. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I just want to share with y'all of how I came to be this queer person that y'all see sitting in front of you, as well as when I realized that bigots will literally try to beat the light out of you instead of embracing it and getting on with this liberation train as well. So I want to share with y'all some time periods, some ages of my life in which I had made shifts in my queerness. So I want to start out with Sixth grade, George shared at 7 years old, which is so freaking young. And when he realized that his femininity and the way he wanted to perform was not going to be received and it was going to be met with a lot of bigotry, I didn't have that realization until about sixth grade. I was in 10th grade. The elementary school that I had went to, and when we shifted to middle school, all my friends went to a different middle school. So I had to essentially start fresh all over. And I was excited for that. My elementary school was a great experience. Bullying wasn't tolerated in my school. It was a very diverse school. I learned so much about different cultures. In elementary school, I got to learn about like Native Americans and Pacific Islanders. Like a lot of people, from talking to a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people didn't have that type of experience in their school. It was very much like a dichotomy of like black and whiteness. And here I was in elementary, experiencing and learning so many cultures. So I was in the mindset to do the same thing in middle school. And in middle school is when I learned that it was not okay to be me. In middle school, I didn't start off having any friends, so I was open-minded and wanted to like embrace new people. But constantly, I was met with so much teasing, so much bullying. I would even take it a step further and say that I was tormented in middle school. Eventually, I did have really two good close friends throughout my time of middle school, so I wasn't completely alone. But for some reason, in times that I was met with homophobia, femphobia, at times I was met with people who wanted to like dim my light. My friends weren't around. I don't even think I had shared my experiences with my friends. I was teased every in which way. I don't think that I am a feminine man, but I embrace femininity. I have no problem with femininity. I think like I'm just being realistic on the spectrum of like masculinity and femininity. I sit more on the masculine side, but since me being dark skinned, I don't fit the mold of this hyper masculine man, hyper masculine boy, this rambunctious kind of boy. That was never me growing up. Adventurous, of course, but never like the stereotypical ideal black boy. And so because of that, I was met with so much teasing, and mostly with people who looked like me. Thankfully, I didn't internalize that and decide to hate other black boys. Thank you, Jesus. But I was met with a lot of teasing. So many times I'd be in the hallway and people would come up to me and flick my breasts and call me like titty monster. I remember sitting on the ground in PE. I don't know if y'all had it in y'all gymnasium. We had like numbers. I remember sitting on the numbers for roll call, and then I was just speaking to a person next to my number, and then this girl right behind me was like, "Oh my gosh, stop talking like that." Like, I promise you, I was not a feminine child. I just didn't exist in the ideal masculinity, and people hated that in middle school. People hated that. I remember even one time walking just with my head held straight, and I've always had like breasts since I was like a teenager, and people were like, "Stop sticking your chest out." It was ridiculous. It was horrible. I got to a breaking point that in 7th grade, I was already getting teased all 6th grade, all 7th grade year. We went on a field trip in my middle school class, and that day for some reason it was literally a pick on Chris day. Like everybody was picking on me from the time that we left school to the time that we were on the field trip on our way to the school. I'm just like, aren't y'all tired? That shit is exhausting, picking on people. It is exhausting. I don't know how kids kept up with it. Like, damn, they really must have been eating a lot of Wheaties in the morning time. Like, mama was giving them their calcium and their fiber. They had a lot of energy towards me, like, Lord Jesus. But I remember at the end of the day, at the middle school, we just gotten back, and this kid wouldn't let up. So in defense, I pulled scissors on him and pinned him down on the desk and said, "Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Stop making fun of me." That's all I ever wanted, was just for it to stop. I never wanted any companionship. I didn't want to be in community with these niggas. I just wanted it to stop. Do you know what they did in response to me pulling out scissors on a kid who was torturing me and making fun of me? The next following year, I got put into anger management class in middle school. They put me, not Daryl, I'll say his name, not Daryl. They put me my gay black ass into anger management class. Do you know how upset I was? Like, do you know how upset my mom was? Like, when I went into that class, so many people were confused. It was like a small class, like after lunch. It was maybe like 6 to 8 people. Everyone, like, I would say half of those people had contributing to tormenting me in middle school and were really confused that I was in this class. I said, me too. Me too. I'm like, wow, if anything, that should have gave me insight into the way that we treat marginalized people now. Like, wow, I'm really drawing like parallels. But because of that, I shrank myself so much 8th grade year. Came and went. I was so excited to dip out of that middle school. I think I took down 2 people's numbers, not even my actual friends, because on a whole nother tangent, by the time 8th grade year came around, the 2 close friends that I did have slowly started just dispersing and hanging out with other groups and literally just left me solo. So by the time I had graduated middle school, I said, deuces, fuck this place. Not even that many people signed my yearbook. I was just ready for a change. I was just ready to start all over. So I went to high school, and ninth grade sucked. I didn't have any friends. I used to chill out in the bleacher. I was so traumatized from middle school that I didn't have the same like energy. I didn't have the same gusto to want to try to meet new people, because I'm like, damn, they're just gonna like shrink. They're just gonna shrink me anyway. They're just gonna make me feel less of a person than I am. I could do bad all by myself. I could soak here. So I just spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time not wanting to interact with my peers because I just knew of the incidents that happened from middle school. So I missed out a lot on my 9th and 10th grade year. It wasn't until my cousin who I love to death, she watches my videos. She ended up coming to my school the next following year. So when I was in 10th grade, and from then we just ended up hanging out a lot. We ended up making like our friend group. She kind of like deserted her friends, not for me, like she was trying to balance out friend groups, but then I'm just hanging out with the group of friends that we had developed. And high school became such an enjoyable experience. Like I had joined the BSU and the GSA, but I was like straight in high school, so I wasn't like the gay person in GSA. But like, my cousin saved my life. I still was not out as a queer person. I still did not like having conversations. I ran so hard. I remember there was a time in high school, my same cousin, we were like chilling out at lunch, and she was talking about her cousin asking about me and was like, is Chris gay? And she said like, no, Chris is just feminine. And I was so mad. I was so mad because I did not want to be gay. I did not want to be feminine. I saw how people treated people like that, how less than, and I didn't want that for myself. I really didn't. So I stormed off. My cousin had to like text me. She had to call me. She like sent me she didn't send me screenshots because smartphones were the thing then, but like she had told me she looked up the definition of femininity, and like in actuality, like she wasn't even wrong per se. Like I just hate it. I really hate it. I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to exist like everybody else got to exist in high school and middle school, or at least that's what it seemed as. So when I left high school, still was not out. I spent my years from 18 to 21 learning, like hooking up with dudes, like engaging. Still didn't frequent any gay spaces. I still had no gay friends. I was using like the hotline, I was using the party line, and I also was using Craigslist in my 18 to 22-year-old days of like hooking up with men and exploring my sexuality, like secret as fuck. Finally at 21, I just had enough. Like I was just like, I don't think this is going away. I definitely think for sure I'm attracted to men. I was still trying to like parade of being like straight or being attracted to women. I didn't try that hard. Like I never had a girlfriend. I went on a date or two. There was girls who had crushes on me, but I was like, y'all don't really like me. You just like the ideal of me. I promise I'm not that attracted to you. So I did a little effort, but when I was about 21, I said, I think that this is not going away, and I decided to tell my mother. I came out as bisexual. My mom received it really well, actually. We were just having like an intimate conversation, and I just felt really close to her in that moment, and I decided to share with her, and she was so happy. She thought I was gay, and I was like, no, 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 I'm not gay. I'm bisexual. I still like women. I'm still assimilating to this heteronormativity that y'all have sold me. And she didn't believe it, but she went along with it. And in those years from like 21 to 25, like I said, I still never dated women. I actually never had sex with a woman. And I was still just exploring my sexuality with men. It was about when I was 25 years old. I met this young man. I won't say his name. What name should I give him? Let's just go with Pierre. His name is Pierre. He was a foreign exchange student from France, and we met on Grindr, and he was out here for about 3 to 4 months, and we just got close off the bat. We didn't do a whole lot of hooking up, but it was just nice to have someone close to you. We hung out a lot. It was like very intimate. It felt like a partner. It was the first experience where I felt like, oh wow, I think I could date men. Those whole entire years I had accepted my sexuality and being attracted to men, but I still thought it was too gay to date men. I thought that being in a partnership with men was just still not my zhish. Like, even though I still was not pursuing women in any regards. And I'm not saying that that's what bisexuality is. I know bisexuality is on the spectrum. I'm just saying, for me personally, I could feel that I was not bisexual. So hanging out with this guy for 3 to 4 months, Pierre, him being a foreign exchange student here, it just really like opened my mind to the possibilities of partnership with men. And I'm so grateful for him. Like, we're still friends to this day. I've gone over to France to visit him. He hasn't come back since, but I always tell him I'm like thankful so much for you coming into my life. And he's like, you would have embraced your queerness, you would have traveled the world eventually. And I was like, yeah, but like I acknowledge people who have impacted my lives very much so. Like, it was you. It was you, because like whether you did it intentionally or not, like I want to give praise and thanks and acknowledge people who have made huge impacts in my life. And because of him, from about 26 to 27, I really was like, you know what? I'm just going to lean into this. Like, I'm gay. Like, there's no energy over there. I recognize the beauty in women. I think any person, regardless of who you're attracted to, should recognize like attraction and beauty, even though we're trying to dismantle beauty standards. That's a whole nother conversation. But I do think it's hella important. It was really important for me to start just embracing who I was. And from that, when I was about 27, I was like, okay, this queerness shit is cool. Mind you, I still had never been into a gay bar. I still never really had a good gay friend. In all my jobs, there was always like at least one gay person there, or one visibly gay person, one visibly out person. I never got close to them. I was like, I'm not with that gay shit. I really regret all those years up until I was 27 years old, like being like so anti-gay. I know I'm just missing so much experience. I know I was just missing out on so much being closeted. Fuck society. It's because of y'all. It's because of straight people. It's because of hetero people as to why I did not live my flaming faggot fantasy that I would have loved to live out being 18 to 21 years old. But you straight people beat it out of me when I was in middle school. But I'm getting over it now. So when I was about 27, I reconnected with a friend. I'll leave his name anonymous as well. Let's call him Roger. Me and Roger met on Grindr. We were actually friends, coming full circle, from middle school. So he was one of my friends in middle school. And what attracted me the most to him in middle school was that I knew he was gay. I had never said it. He had never said it. We never had conversations about sexuality in middle school. But I knew he was gay because he came into class and he was using gel pens. Boys were not using gel pens. Those were mostly what girls were using. And I said, oh my gosh, so brave. I like gel pens, but I never used them. I can't believe he bought them and is using them in class. Like, I want to be friends with that person. So we were friends in middle school. Like I said, I hated middle school. Social media wasn't a thing, so we had disconnected. It was like 15 years we had not seen each other, so we reconnected on Grindr on some straight platonic shit, just to have a friend. I don't believe in like putting so much emphasis on not having sex with your friends. If that's what you do, I think that there's so much gray area between like friendship and partnership. that we don't explore, but I don't have the hangups with him. It was just great to have a platonic friend, someone I can just confide to and share all my like gay shit with, like, and understand and don't have to explain things. That was so new for me. Like, there was very few things that I shared about queerness with my friends and my family. There was very few things that I shared and that they will understand, that I even felt comfortable. And here at 27, this man, this boy who I met when we were children came full circle. It was just amazing. We went out to gay bars, gay places. He introduced me to so many gay people. It was just, I thank him. Unfortunately, we ended our friendship last year just because he lacked communication skills. But that man just showed me so much. I had never been to gay bars. I had never really danced that much. And it made me just embrace a side of myself that I never knew existed, that I've been wanting to let out for years. And with my friend Roger, he definitely showcased that to me. We, like I said, we did the most gay shit. We got to talk about hookups. I got to talk about intimacy with other men. Like, that was just so many firsts for me. That was so many firsts for me. I never experienced having like a gay friend. And thankful now I have more queer friends now. So from 27 to about 30 years old, I was just leaning more into the gay shit. I was not working from the time I was like 25. I was not working at an employed job from the time I was like 25 to 28. So that's another factor that comes into play. I had a lot of time to like spend alone. I was never out with coworkers. So when I was about 28, I started a new job, and that was like the first job in which I was like out to my coworkers. Like, I never had discussed being attracted to men. I used to always shy it off. Even when I was exploring with men, when I was like 22, 23, 24 at work, straight. I would just deny. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, who said that? You know, like, there is definitely ignorance in straight people assuming people's sexuality, for sure. There's a lot of homophobia, there's a lot of bigotry, there's a lot of ignorance, there's people buying into a lot of stereotypes, because this shit also affects straight men. Homophobia definitely affects straight men, and so does femphobia. So I just brushed it off every single time somebody would bring up sexuality. But when I was 28 to 30, that was my first job where I said, damn, I could be gay around people. Like, I can tell people I'm like dating somebody, or I just went on a date and not have to feel ashamed. It felt so freeing. It felt so liberating. By the time I had turned 30, that shit was like the light switch that I was talking about earlier at the beginning of the video. It was literally like clarity, like a revelation. Like, I don't give a fuck. Yes, I care about people who I love. Yes, I care about not participating in bigotry, but like how I exist, I don't give a fuck. Do I still have times where I have like insecurities? Of course, but I can't live such a shrinking life. I've done that my whole entire life, not feel free in who I am and how I exist. And I just didn't want to do that anymore when I turned 30 years old. Like, that was definitely like, okay, you know what? We've been on this trajectory building. This is where you finally get to like take off your training wheels and just soar down the street on your bicycle in all your glory and queerness. And that's what I did. I really spent a lot of time shaming myself. I now actively explore queer spaces, queer people. I want to be embraced by people who are sharing a similar experience as me. Shout out to all the women over the years, because I was so afraid of being friends with gay men. There is sometimes, not all the time, sometimes a bit more safety that I've personally felt, and I know other queer men have felt with having women as friends. Just because we share a similar attraction. There's other reasons why people feel safe with women who are queer men. But I just wanted to share that with y'all. I hope it was clear. I hope it made sense. I hope it gave you more of an insight of who I am and where I've come from and what my journey on queerness has been. I just wanted to share more and expand on my thoughts versus just telling the coming out story. A lot of that times it's just been sharing trauma and sensationalized for the clicks and the views. And clicks and views are great for engagement and growing the channel, but I just want to be authentic and share more of y'all so you understand where I'm coming from, where my perspective is, and why I don't handle any type of queer phobia whatsoever, like any LGBT rhetoric. I'm like, no. I put up with that shit for way too long in my life. Like, I won't tolerate it. I don't want to tolerate it. I want to fucking live free. I want to be free. And times I always still have to check myself of like how free am I living, because that does come up where I'm like, does this clothing, the way I put my hand here, does that, no, none of that shit like defines my value of a person. If anything, it's popping. It's popping over here. It's popping living a freer life as much as you can. And I would definitely encourage y'all to lean into the queerness, and I pray that all y'all have support around you. I'm really grateful that my family was never overtly homophobic. There's microaggressions and little shit that they still say, and they're working on, but overall they had definitely, I've had quite the loving experience from my family. That's all thoughts I have for this video. Hopefully it's not too rambly. Like I said, hopefully everything y'all understand it. Please leave your comments down below. I would love to hear all of y'all queer experience. How's it been? When did you realize that it wasn't okay to be gay? When did you realize it wasn't okay to be bi? When did you realize it wasn't okay to be a lesbian? When did you realize it wasn't okay to be trans? And how has your time been spending on unlearning that and discovering all the great things that your queerness is? I would love to hear that in the comments below. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Crispy Noah family if you enjoy my content. And I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!